Welcome back to Wisdom Unveiled. Now, just a quick note before we start. This is a translation Conversations with Iranian Philosophers, so sometimes little details might get lost in translation. We apologize for any discrepancies.
So, of course.
So today we're on episode 37 of 50. We're doing a deep dive into معرفت.
Yeah.
And today's guest is, well, I guess not really a guest, more like the subject of our deep dive, is Saadi of Shiraz.
Yeah.
A poet who really understood the power and, I guess, the potential pitfalls, too, of language.
Yeah. Saadi's poetry, it's full of these insightful paradoxes. He praises language as this divine gift, but also warns us about its potential for harm.
Yeah.
It's like he's constantly reminding us as speakers and listeners of the responsibility we have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit like walking a tightrope, isn't it? One wrong step and boom, your words could do more harm than good.
Right.
And we've got 50 audio files of معرفت to explore here.
Okay.
One quote that really stuck with me was from Dr. Dinani. He said that nothing greater than language has been created by God. At the same time, nothing worse exists than language.
That's really interesting how he puts those two sides of the same coin together right there.
Yeah.
And I think what's so fascinating about that statement is the way it captures Saadi's message, Language, it's a tool. Like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Right.
He praises language as a way for us to connect with each other and understand each other. He even calls it a divine gift. But he's also keenly aware of how language can be used to deceive, manipulate, spread hatred.
Yes, and he doesn't hold back when criticizing those who misuse language.
Right.
Dr. Dinani mentioned that Saadi compares those who misuse language to people who are lost in the forbidden.
Yes.
It's almost as if by choosing to use language to hurt others, they're straying from its true purpose, becoming trapped in their own, ego and desires.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you ever noticed that tendency in yourself?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I think it's something we all struggle with, especially in today's world,
Yeah.
where communication is so fast-paced, it's so impulsive.
Right.
It's easy to forget that every word we utter carries weight. So yeah, I think Saadi reminds us to choose our words carefully.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And in fact, he often elevates silence
Yes.
to a place of importance, even suggesting that true understanding
Yeah.
happens in those quiet spaces between the words.
That reminds me of something that was brought up by both Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani,
Okay.
where they talk about how Saadi's concept of silence goes beyond simply not speaking.
Right.
They were pointing towards a kind of inner stillness, a way of being present in the world that allows us to connect to something much bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. It's not just about the absence of sound.
Right.
It's about quieting the internal noise.
Yes.
The constant chatter of worries and distractions.
Dr. Dinani made a really interesting point.
Yeah.
He said you could be meditating on a mountaintop, but if your mind is racing, you're still lost in the forbidden. Right. True solitude, it has to come from within.
It's like finding this oasis of calm
Yeah.
amidst the chaos of everyday life.
Yeah.
And this is where Saadi's desert metaphor comes in, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Dr. Dinani talks about the desert as a symbol of stripping away everything that is non-essential, letting go of worries, distractions, even your sense of self, to experience this vast emptiness. And it's in that emptiness that real understanding can emerge.
So it's about recognizing your place within the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
Realizing that you're part of something much larger than yourself.
Exactly.
So by venturing into this, metaphorical desert, you're not just seeking peace, but you're also seeking a sense of belonging, a connection to something truly divine.
Yes, and it's almost like the desert forces you to confront your own smallness in comparison to this vastness of existence.
Yes.
Right.
That reminds me of that Quranic verse that Dr. Larijani brought up.
Oh, yeah.
About God being closer to us than our own jugular vein.
Yes.
It speaks to this profound intimacy of our connection to something bigger than ourselves. But it also raises the question, if we're meant to seek this connection, how do we use language in a way that honors it?
That's a great question. And I think it leads us to another really important aspect of Saadi's thinking.
Okay.
And that is the interplay between heart and reason.
Now, conventionally, those are often seen as opposing forces.
Right, exactly.
But Saadi sees them as complementary.
Yes.
That's interesting. You're right. We often pit emotion against logic.
Yeah.
As if they can't coexist.
Yeah.
How does Saadi suggest we balance the two?
Well, Dr. Dinani explains it like this. It's a compassionate heart that drives us to seek wisdom.
Okay.
It's empathy. It's that caring for the world and for others that fuels our desire to truly understand.
So it's not about suppressing your emotions or trying to become some cold, calculating machine.
No, not at all. Saadi believes that without that emotional core, our pursuit of knowledge becomes meaningless.
But Dr. Larijani also emphasized that, unchecked emotions can be just as detrimental, comparing them to a ship without a captain.
Yes. He uses this very powerful analogy. He says the wind and sails, they represent our emotions. That's what gives us power and direction.
Yeah.
But reason, that's our captain, and reason needs to be at the helm, guiding the ship so it doesn't get lost at sea.
So we need both the passion and energy of our emotions and the clear-headedness of reason to navigate the complexities of life and language.
Absolutely.
It seems like Saadi believes that finding that balance is really key to using language effectively and ethically.
He's not advocating for suppressing one or the other. It's about the harmonious integration of both.
That makes a lot of sense. So this leads us to a very interesting question then. If language is this powerful, where does it actually originate?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is it just a product of our physical tongue and vocal cords?
Well, Saadi would argue no.
Okay.
And Dr. Dinani brings up this really fascinating concept called tamathu.
Tamathu.
Yeah, it's this idea that meanings from a formless realm, a realm that's beyond our senses, are taking shape within us.
So it's not just about producing language, but receiving it from some deeper source.
Yeah, it's like we're vessels, and we're being filled with meaning from this vast ocean of potential.
I love that image. But does the clarity of those meanings, how purely they come through, does that depend on the state of the vessel?
That's exactly what Dr. Dinani is suggesting.
Okay.
Yeah, and he actually uses the fall from, the Bible as a metaphor for how those meanings, those perfect formless meanings, become limited as they enter human experience.
It's like filtering something vast and pure through an imperfect lens.
Precisely.
Okay, so that's why Saadi put so much emphasis then on purifying our intentions, cultivating honesty, and striving for sincerity in our communication.
You're right.
It's almost as if the clearer our inner state, the more accurately we can receive and express those deeper meanings.
Exactly. It's not about just avoiding negative speech. It's about actively cultivating these qualities like honesty, compassion, and a genuine desire to connect with truth.
Which makes me think about all the distractions that we face in today's world.
Right.
All the noise and pressure to present a certain image.
Yeah.
It seems so easy to lose sight of that inner clarity.
And that's where this concept of jinn and divs comes in.
Okay, now hold on. Jinn and divs. What are those?
So these are mischievous spirits in Persian folklore.
Okay.
And Dr. Dinani compares those consumed by negativity to being possessed by these jinn and these divs.
Wait, are we talking about literal beings here?
No, not literally. Think of them more as metaphors for the negative thoughts and desires that can really distort our thinking.
And lead us to misuse language.
Okay.
So things like envy, greed, the urge to gossip, the desire to put others down. These are the divs.
Right.
They cloud our judgment.
Yeah.
They make us say or do things that we later regret.
And Dr. Dinani mentioned that these divs are more common in what he calls the streets, meaning modern life, than in the desert, representing solitude.
Right.
So it seems like he's pointing out that the constant stimulation of modern life makes it so much harder to maintain that inner clarity.
Exactly. The streets are filled with distractions and temptations that can pull us away from our true selves.
So in Saadi's view, finding those moments of stillness, of quiet reflection, become even more crucial.
Exactly.
It's about consciously creating that desert experience, that space to reconnect with yourself and quiet those mental divs that can really lead you astray.
Absolutely.
That reminds me of a story from the Gulistan.
It's about a man who repented for his past misdeeds.
Okay.
But he's still the target of gossip. He complains to his spiritual master and says, "Why are people still judging me?"
Right.
And the master gives him this really profound response. Be grateful that God is pleased with you, even if people misjudge you.
That's so powerful.
It's such a good reminder that true worth
Yeah.
comes from aligning your actions with your values, not from what other people think.
Right.
Saadi is really urging us to find our own inner compass.
Yes.
And let that guide our words and actions.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus from external validation to inner alignment.
Yeah.
You know? It's about finding peace in knowing that you are living in accordance with your values.
Right.
Regardless of what the world throws at you.
And it's also about recognizing that silence itself
Interesting.
can be a powerful form of communication.
How so?
Well, Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani had a really interesting conversation about Saadi's reverence for silence. They emphasized that true solitude isn't simply about being physically alone. It's about cultivating this inner stillness.
Yeah.
Even when surrounded by chaos.
So you could be in a crowded room.
Right.
But if you can find that inner quiet, that is true solitude.
Exactly. And Dr. Dinani said that you could be meditating on a mountaintop, but if your mind is racing with worries and distractions, you're still lost in the forbidden.
Yes.
It's about being fully present,
right,
connected to something beyond yourself.
I
mean, I know my mind is constantly filled with to-do lists and worries.
Yeah.
I'm rarely fully present.
It's hard, especially in today's world.
But Dr. Larijani pointed out that even questioning the possibility of true solitude is significant.
Okay.
He suggested that it indicates a part of us that's separate from all of those thoughts and feelings.
That part of me that observes,
Yes.
even when my mind is chattering away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He believes that recognizing that separation is crucial for spiritual growth.
Wow.
It helps us to see that we're not our thoughts.
Right.
We're something more.
So how do we cultivate that awareness?
That's a good question. Well, Saadi uses this image of the desert to represent this. And Dr. Dinani gave a really beautiful explanation. He said, the desert symbolizes everything that's not you. Your worries, distractions, even the whole universe.
Wow.
It's like stepping into vast emptiness allows us to see ourselves more clearly, separate from all the mental baggage we carry.
That's a powerful image.
It's like the desert forces you to confront your own essence.
Yeah.
And Dr. Larijani added, venturing into that metaphorical desert isn't just about finding a quiet spot. It's about understanding where you fit in the grand scheme of things.
Finding your place in the universe, your connection to something larger than yourself.
I love how this all connects back to that Quranic verse about God being closer to us than our own jugular vein.
Yes.
It highlights this sense of belonging, of being part of something vast and timeless.
And speaking of finding that balance between the personal and the universal, Saadi has this fascinating perspective on the relationship between heart and reason.
Yeah.
He actually says, if you have a heart, seek reason.
That sounds a little counterintuitive.
Right.
Aren't we usually told to choose one or the other?
It's a common misconception, for sure.
But Saadi's not asking us to choose.
No.
He sees them as these complementary forces, both essential for living a meaningful life.
Exactly.
So it's not about suppressing your emotions or striving to become some purely logical being.
Not at all.
Okay.
Dr. Dinani explains that it's a compassionate heart that motivates our quest for wisdom.
Okay.
It's empathy and caring that fuel our desire to understand the world and others.
Which makes sense to me. Because I think without that genuine sense of care, it's easy for the pursuit of knowledge to become cold and detached. It's like those brilliant minds who use their intellect for selfish or even harmful purposes.
Exactly.
It's as if their intellect becomes a weapon instead of a tool for good.
Yes. And that's where Dr. Larijani's point about emotions needing the guidance of reason becomes so important.
Because uncontrolled emotions can be just as dangerous as cold, heartless logic.
So it's about finding that balance.
Right.
Letting our heart inform our reasoning and our reasoning to guide our emotions.
It's like Saadi's suggesting that both heart and reason are these integral parts of what it means to be human.
Absolutely.
And that brings us back to the question about the origin of language.
Yeah.
If it's so powerful, where does it come from?
Right.
I mean, is it simply a product of our physical voice?
I think Saadi would say no.
Okay.
Remember that concept of tamathul that Dr. Dinani brought up?
Kapathul.
Yeah.
That's the idea that meanings from this higher realm are taking shape within us.
Exactly.
So it's not just us producing language, but it's us being receptive to this flow of meaning from a higher source.
Yes, and the clarity of that flow, how purely those meanings come through, it all depends on the state of our being, the clarity of our inner vessel, as Dr. Dinani put it.
I guess it makes you think about how much we focus on appearances
Yeah.
Trying to sound clever or witty instead of prioritizing truth and authenticity.
It's like we're more concerned with the container
Yeah.
than the content that it holds.
Right. And Saadi's reminding us that true eloquence comes from a pure heart and sincere intentions.
It's not just about what you say, but why you say it.
Right. And that takes us back to the jinn and divs, right?
Yes.
Those negative thoughts and desires that distort our thinking and lead us to misuse language.
And Dr. Dinani pointed out that these divs, they're more prevalent in the streets, representing modern life, than in the desert, symbolizing solitude.
Because the constant distractions and temptations of modern life make it harder to stay focused on what truly matters.
Exactly.
Okay, so then creating those moments of silence, those desert experiences, become even more crucial in today's world.
Right.
It's about consciously stepping away from the frenzy of daily life to reconnect with yourself and to try to quiet those mental divs that can lead you astray.
You know, I often catch myself comparing my life to others on social media.
Oh, yeah.
And feeling envious or inadequate. It's like those divs are whispering in my ear, fueling all of my insecurities.
Saadi would probably remind us that true happiness doesn't come from external validation or comparison.
Right.
It comes from being content with who you are and using your unique talents to make a positive impact.
So instead of getting caught up in comparison and desire, we should focus on gratitude.
Right.
Appreciate our strengths. And find ways to express our authentic voice.
It's about looking deeper, going beyond the surface, as Saadi emphasizes.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of Dr. Dinani's analogy of, someone sucking on the shell of an almond all day long.
Never getting to the nut inside.
Exactly. He was saying we often get so caught up in appearances and quick fixes that we miss out on the real richness and depth that life has to offer.
And Dr. Larijani connected this to that Quranic verse, "Everything will perish save the face of thy Lord."
Which highlights that what truly matters is the essence of things. Not their fleeting outer forms.
It's about focusing on those inner qualities that bring lasting peace, wisdom, and fulfillment.
Not worldly success or material possessions.
Exactly.
Saadi's really urging us to shift our attention from the temporary to the eternal.
Yes.
From the superficial to the profound.
It's a call to cultivate those qualities that make us truly rich in spirit. Things like honesty, compassion, gratitude, and a sincere desire to connect with truth.
So it's about recognizing that true power doesn't lie in manipulating language for personal gain, but in using it as a tool for connection, understanding, and love.
And that journey begins by cultivating those inner qualities, purifying our intentions, and embracing the transformative power of silence.
It's in those quiet spaces, that inner desert, that you connect with your true self.
Yes.
You access those deeper meanings, and your words become a reflection of your highest aspirations.
Absolutely.
That's a profound and inspiring message.
It is.
I think this is a good place for us to pause and reflect on what we've discussed so far.
Sounds good.
Saidi's insights on language are so rich.
They are.
We could spend hours unpacking them.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
But I think we've touched on some of the key themes that make his work so relevant and inspiring, even centuries later.
Absolutely.
His teachings remind us that language is a powerful tool.
Yes.
One that can be used for both great good and great harm.
It's a double-edged sword.
He encourages us to approach language with reverence, with mindfulness, and with a deep awareness of its potential impact.
It's a big responsibility.
He reminds us of the importance of cultivating those inner qualities that allow our words to become a force for good in the world. Things like honesty, compassion, gratitude, and a sincere desire to connect with truth.
I think that's really key.
And he also invites us to embrace the transformative power of silence.
Yes.
To find that inner stillness where we can connect with our true selves and with those universal truths that transcend the limitations of language.
Beautiful.
Saadi's work really is a testament to the enduring power of language to inspire, to uplift, and to guide us on our own journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth.
It's a powerful message.
It's a call to become more conscious of our words,
to
speak and to listen with greater awareness.
Absolutely.
And to let our language become a reflection of our highest aspirations for ourselves and for the world.
And his teachings offer us a path towards a more mindful, compassionate, and meaningful way of communicating.
Yes.
One that fosters understanding, connection, and ultimately a deeper sense of purpose in our lives.
And I think that's a beautiful message to carry with us.
It is.
As we continue to explore the richness and depth of Saadi's work.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us.
Of course.
For this deep dive into Saadi's wisdom.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it as enriching and inspiring as we have.
I certainly have.
And until next time, may your words reflect the beauty and wisdom that reside within your heart.
Beautiful. You know, as we go through these 50 episodes of معرفت, it's striking how Saadi uses language to convey these complex spiritual concepts. It's not just the words themselves, it's how he uses them.
You're right. He's a true poet.
Right.
We've been talking a lot about words and silence.
Yeah.
But what about metaphors and imagery?
Oh,
those seem to play a big part in his work.
Dr. Dinani highlighted how Saadi was a master of metaphorical language.
Oh, yeah.
He used it to convey these truths that go beyond simple explanation. You know, it's kind of like when you hear a piece of music that moves you deeply. You can't always explain why.
Right.
You just feel it.
I love that analogy.
Right.
So when you encounter a metaphor in Saadi's work, you're not just supposed to analyze it intellectually, right?
Right.
You should let it resonate with you on a deeper level. It's like letting the metaphor speak to your heart, not just your mind.
Dr. Larijani put it beautifully. He said it's about approaching Saadi's poetry with a sense of curiosity and wonder. Allowing yourself to be surprised and transformed by what you discover.
So it's about being open to the experience.
Yeah.
Letting the metaphor kind of guide you to a deeper understanding, rather than trying to overanalyze it.
Right.
This reminds me of the desert metaphor and how it connects to the idea of silence.
Absolutely.
Dr. Dinani used the analogy of a mirror.
Okay.
He said a mirror can only reflect clearly if it's still, it's the same with our minds. When our minds are agitated, full of judgments, distractions. We can't see clearly.
And our minds are constantly bombarded with information and stimulation. It's no wonder we struggle to find stillness.
And Dr. Dinani also talked about how our hearts can be like mirrors, too. Becoming kind of tarnished over time by worldly attachments and negative habits.
So it's our responsibility to polish those mirrors, to purify our hearts and minds so we can reflect the truth more fully.
And that's where silence comes in.
Right, exactly.
It's about creating that inner space for reflection, for connecting with that wellspring of wisdom and clarity within you.
But our culture doesn't really encourage silence, does it?
No, not really.
It's all about busyness. Productivity.
It's like we've forgotten the importance of just being.
And in that constant striving and doing, we miss out on what truly matters. You know, we forget that real fulfillment comes from within, not from what we accomplish or acquire.
And that's where Saadi's wisdom can be so grounding.
Yes.
He reminds us to slow down. Appreciate the simple things. Savor the present moment.
He's encouraging us to live more consciously, more intentionally, in alignment with our true selves.
And this brings us back to one of those core paradoxes. In Saadi's view of language, where he praises language as a divine gift, yet warns against its potential for harm.
It's like he's acknowledging that language can be the greatest tool for good, but also the most dangerous weapon.
It really highlights that responsibility that we have as both speakers and listeners. Every word carries weight. It can build up or tear down, create connection or sow division.
I think about how easy it is to just get caught up in superficial communication, you know, focusing on being clever or witty without really considering the deeper implications of what we're saying.
So often we focus on winning an argument. Or getting our point across, instead of truly understanding and connecting with the other person.
And Saadi challenges us to go beyond those superficial layers and use language as a tool for connection, understanding, and compassion.
And I think that focus on mindful communication is more important now than ever.
Absolutely.
In today's world.
Especially with, you know, how we're constantly bombarded with information and conflicting narratives.
It's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what's true. what's valuable.
And what's just noise.
Right.
Right.
And I think Saadi's wisdom can really help us to navigate these complexities.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just giving us this beautiful poetry.
Right.
He's providing us with a framework for understanding and using language in a way that fosters connection and meaning.
It's a call to move beyond simply using language, to achieve our own personal goals.
Yeah.
And to see it as a tool for building bridges, healing divisions, and creating a more compassionate and just world.
It's about contributing to this greater good.
Yes.
A world where understanding and empathy prevail.
Exactly.
And it all starts with that inner stillness, that desert experience where we connect with ourselves and with those universal truths that transcend the limitations of language.
That's where we access that wellspring of meaning and wisdom, that source from which our words can flow with clarity and compassion and purpose.
It's a beautiful and challenging invitation.
It is.
To become more conscious of our language, to speak and listen with greater awareness, and to let our words reflect our highest aspirations for ourselves and for the world.
And to remember that even in silence, there's this profound eloquence.
Yeah.
There's power in just being present, listening deeply.
Yeah.
And allowing space for understanding to emerge.
You know, that makes me think of that story from the Gulistan.
Oh, yeah.
About the man who had repented for his past misdeeds, but was still being judged by others.
The one where the spiritual master advised him to be grateful that God was pleased with him, even if others misjudged him.
Exactly. It's such a powerful reminder that true peace and fulfillment come from aligning your actions with your values, not from seeking external validation.
It's a call to focus on what truly matters. You know, living authentically and striving to make a positive impact on the world.
And in order to do that, we need to cultivate those qualities that Saadi emphasizes.
Absolutely.
Honesty, compassion, gratitude, and a sincere desire to connect with truth.
It's about recognizing that our true power doesn't lie in manipulating language for our own gain, but in using it as a tool for connection, understanding, and love.
Saadi reminds us that true eloquence isn't about fancy words or clever arguments.
Right.
It's about speaking and acting from a place of authenticity, integrity, and compassion.
And that journey, it begins with cultivating those inner qualities, purifying our intentions, and embracing that transformative power of silence.
It's in those quiet spaces, that inner desert, that you can connect with your true self. You access those deeper meanings.
Right.
And your words become a reflection of your highest aspirations for yourself and the world.
What a profound and inspiring message.
It is.
And I think it's a beautiful place to just stop for now and reflect on everything that we've talked about.
Absolutely. Saadi's insights on language are so rich and multifaceted.
They are.
And these 50 episodes of Marifat offer us just a wealth of wisdom to explore.
We've only just begun to uncover the depth of his teachings.
But I think we've touched on some key themes that make his work so relevant and inspiring, even centuries later.
For sure.
His teachings remind us that language is a powerful tool.
Yes.
One that can be used for both great good and great harm.
It's a double-edged sword.
He encourages us to approach language with reverence, with mindfulness, and a deep awareness of its potential impact.
On ourselves and others.
Yes.
It's a big responsibility.
He reminds us of the importance of cultivating those inner qualities that allow our words to become a force for good. In the world.
Things like honesty,
compassion, gratitude, and a sincere desire to connect with truth.
I think that's really key. And he invites us to embrace that transformative power of silence, to find that inner stillness where we can connect with our true selves and with those universal truths that transcend the limitations of language.
Beautiful.
Saadi's work really is a testament to the enduring power of language to inspire, to uplift, and to guide us on our own journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth.
It's a call to become more conscious of our words, to speak and listen with greater awareness.
And to let our language become a reflection of our highest aspirations for ourselves and for the world.
His teachings offer us a path towards a more mindful, compassionate, and meaningful way of communicating.
One that fosters understanding, connection, and ultimately a deeper sense of purpose.
Right. In our lives.
And I think that is just a beautiful message to carry with us.
It is.
As we continue to explore the richness and depth of Saadi's work in these remaining episodes of معرفت.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Saadi and his insights on language from these 50 episodes of معرفت, what are some key takeaways we can carry with us? What can we really learn from his poetry?
One thing that really stood out to me was that idea of language as this double-edged sword, you know, where he urges us to recognize both its power for good and also its potential for harm.
Right.
Like he's saying, use your words wisely. They can heal, but they can also wound.
It makes you think twice, doesn't it? Before you speak.
It does.
Because our words have a real impact.
Yeah.
And we should choose them carefully, especially when you consider, you know, how much weight we give to the words of others.
Right.
I mean, we've all been hurt by careless words, right?
Absolutely.
And we've probably all spoken carelessly at times too.
Oh, for sure. We're all human.
And that's, I think, where Saadi's emphasis on silence becomes even more important.
It really does.
He's reminding us that real understanding often happens in those quiet spaces. Not just in the words themselves.
It's like taking a step back from all the chatter, both internally and externally, and finding that inner desert, you know, where you can connect with yourself and those universal truths that go beyond language.
It's not always easy.
It's not.
But the rewards are definitely worth the effort.
I agree.
It's about cultivating that presence, that awareness.
That allows you to see things more clearly, to recognize that you are more than your thoughts and your emotions. You're connected to something much greater.
And from that place of stillness, you can choose your words more carefully.
Right.
You can let them flow with more clarity, more purpose.
It's like you're tapping into that deeper wellspring of meaning that Saadi talks about and letting it shape your communication and your actions.
Exactly. It's not just about, you know, speaking eloquently or whatever. It's about letting your words reflect those deeper truths that you've connected with.
And Saadi believed that language can be this bridge between people, you know? Fostering connection and understanding, even when there are differences.
It's about, you know, using language to build rather than destroy, to foster empathy rather than division.
Exactly.
It's about looking for that common ground and seeking to understand different perspectives, even when we disagree with them.
And that requires cultivating those qualities that Saadi talks about so much.
Right.
You know, honesty, integrity, gratitude, and a sincere desire to connect with the truth.
It's about being genuine in your communication, not just, you know, trying to manipulate.
Right, or impress. It's like he's saying, let your words be an expression of your true self, not a mask that you hide behind.
You know, it reminds me of that story from the Gulistan. About the man who had repented for his past mistakes, but he was still being judged by others.
The one where the spiritual master gives him the advice.
Yes.
Be grateful that God is pleased with you, even if people misjudge you. Right. What a powerful message.
It is.
True peace comes from aligning your actions with your values. Not from seeking external validation.
It's about being true to yourself, even when others don't understand.
It's a call to focus on what truly matters, you know, living authentically and striving to make a positive impact on the world.
Exactly.
And to do that, we need to cultivate those qualities that Saadi emphasizes so much.
Right.
Honesty, compassion, gratitude.
And a sincere desire to connect with the truth. Yes. So as we conclude this deep dive into Saadi's view of language, let's remember this powerful message. Language is a gift, but it's a gift that requires care and attention.
Absolutely.
Let's use our words to build bridges, to heal divisions, and to create a more compassionate
and just world.
And let's also remember the importance of silence.
That space where we can reconnect with ourselves and those universal truths that lie beyond words.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Saadi's wisdom.
Of course, it's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it as enriching and inspiring as we have.
I certainly have.
And until next time, May your words reflect the beauty and wisdom that reside within your heart.